What's up, party people, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a get ready with me, testing out some new makeup. We've got some PR stuff, we got some stuff that I purchased myself. There's a lot of stuff here. This is actually the second time that I filmed this video. It took me like 4 hours the first time. And then at the very end, as I was going on to the next video, I realized that my microphone wasn't on. Yeah, the microphone's actually on this time. And there were some things that I tried in the first attempt at this video in round one that I didn't quite like, and the look I didn't turn out quite as planned. So I won't be using a few of these things today, but I do want to at least show you what I'm talking about, give you a review, and then move on to something else. So yeah, I did get a few PR boxes from Flower Beauty, from Koke Cosmetics, from Rude Cosmetics, which is actually sold on Shop Hush, which I love Shop Hush. So starting off with some eyeshadow primer. So Flower Beauty sent over this In Your Prime Ultimate Eye Primer. Now, this is okay. It's not the best primer I've ever used. It's translucent and has no concealing properties, which is typically what I like to go for in primers. It feels really wet at first, but it does set down to be more tacky. But I just don't like the fact that it doesn't conceal. That's just a personal preference. It's not the best thing I've ever tried. It's not bad. So I do have a lot of eyeshadow palettes to show you guys today, and I did try to use most of these in my first video, and that look didn't turn out too well. I'm gonna pop up a little video clip over here of what the look was turning out to be like. It wasn't all that great. I tried to go for more of like a cool tone bluish look. Koke Cosmetics did send over a bunch of stuff for me to try. They are sold at Walmart. I have talked about them before. And these are the artist palettes. So they sent me 3 different palettes. Let's go through each one real quick. And I did use all of these in my first video, so I know how they work. So this one is the Peachy Queen palette. So the packaging is really, really cute. It's very sturdy and high quality. It's got like a rose gold accent on the bottom. And then this palette is very pink toned. So you do have a mixture of mattes and shimmers in here. This one's very like up my alley. So the next palette's in the shade Utopia. So this one is more cool toned. And this one just reminds me of Easter. Like all these shades are kind of pastel-y. What is wrong with you? Can we figure ourselves out here? And then the last one I have is in the shade Treasured. And this one's also more cool toned, and it's got some pops of color in here. So these just aren't super pigmented. I don't really like working with them. They're very, very sheer and buildable, and it takes way too long to create a look. I do have a couple of palettes from Flower Beauty. So these are new palettes. The first one's called the Beauty Flash Full Face Palette. So this is one of those palettes that kind of has the whole shebang in one. So you've got some eyeshadows, you got some blushes, a bronzer, a highlighter. So this will be a good traveling palette, but I probably won't be using this one today either. These aren't bad. The mattes especially really aren't that bad on the eyes. They do blend out really nicely. They do build up. They're not overly pigmented to where they're hard to work with. The bronzer isn't bad. It's got a little bit of a shimmer too. It's got kind of like a peachy rose tone to it, so it's not going to work for everyone, and it might look kind of muddy on some people. And then the actual highlighter over here, I really haven't tried, but it's so sheer. It would be a really natural highlight. They made the blushes so small in here. Like the blushes are the same size as the eyeshadows on the top row. It's not practical to get a big fluffy brush in there, so I don't like that about it. But for me, it's missing a lot. A lot of people might enjoy this palette because it is very simplistic. Then they also have this new Wonderlust eyeshadow palette, and I think they have several shades of this. I think this one's in the shade, I could be wrong, but it says LA Hollywood Hills. And I actually did use this palette mostly for my first look. The pigmentation's really good. These are very soft and buttery, super, super pigmented. But these are more like toppers. So there's a few of those. When you wet your brush, you will get a lot of opacity, but this shade selection is just kind of hard for me to work with. This is definitely like a glitter, not really a glitter topper, but kind of like just an eyeshadow topper palette. Won't be using a whole lot just because it's not my color selection, like it's not my color preference, but it's a good high quality palette. And then I have the Milani Most Loved Mattes, and I've heard so many people rave about this. People are loving the new Milani palettes, and everyone's talking about how amazing they are. These are about $15 at Walmart. So here's what this one looks like. This one kind of reminds me of Stila has a palette or two that looks like this. These are easy to work with. They are very blendable and very soft and smooth and stuff, but they're not super pigmented. And if you like more toned down colors, a little bit more muted, you would probably like this palette. But to me, these are all very dull. I had this shade selection in so many other palettes, so for $15, it's just not worth it. For drugstore, it's absolutely incredible. I just feel like when I use these, I have to really spend time building them up to get the pigmentation that I want. Woo! And then I have, last but not least, the Rude Cosmetics. This is the Manga palette. This is the 35 eyeshadow palette. This is sold at Shop Hush. They actually sent me a bunch of their stuff to try because I've never tried their stuff before, but there were a few things that I've been eyeballing on the Shop Hush website, so I'm glad they sent me stuff. But this is a very cute little package. It's kind of got like that Japanese manga theme. Here's what it looks like. It looks like a book, like a book. Excuse me? Whew, very cheap. The color section is very neutral. It's very everyday, very basic. You do have mattes, shimmers, satins, everything you need in here. But I do not like the quality of this palette. It's very dry, very cheap. And I'm okay with cheap palettes. Like, it's not the price at all. Like, price does not determine the quality, but this just isn't there for me. The mattes are very, very dry and hard to work with. They don't build up at all. They're very sheer. The shimmers are pretty good. Like, when you swatch them especially, they're very buttery and very pigmented. You can't see that, so there's one. But I feel like they perform differently on the eyes. Like, I feel like they don't build up the way they look when you swatch them. And you may try this and absolutely love it, but for me, I've just tried so much better for around this price point, so it's not there for me. Okay, so I probably actually need to start putting stuff on my face because haven't done that yet. So I do have an inspiration pick. I'm gonna pop it up over here. I found it on Instagram. This is from an account called Corinne's Makeup. I will have everything over here. I may have to pull in other things from different brands and stuff. I don't know. But first, it's hella hot in here. So I'm already at a point where I need to pull into something else because it doesn't have what I need. Like, I really picked a good look for today. None of it's gonna work. So I'm gonna pull into my Koke Cosmetics palettes, which I've been trying to use again because I stopped using them for a while. So I'm gonna use the ES06 palette. So I'm gonna take this mustard shade right there and pop that around the crease. And now I'm gonna go into the Kara ES07 palette. I'm gonna take this matte, real vibrant orange right there and put that around the crease as well. So funny that I started out wanting to use new stuff and now we're turning into just using whatever. And I'm not even doing this video right now. Just to use something that I actually plan to use today, I'm gonna go into the Kokie Peachy Queen palette. I'm gonna take this matte, like peachy coral orange. But okay, this one's actually showing up really well. And don't worry, it's gonna look real crappy on the outer edge, but we're gonna fix that later. So now I'm gonna go into this shade right next to the one we just used in the Peachy Queen palette. It's just a matte fuchsia pink and put that all over the eyelid. Oh my god, that's actually looking so pretty. It's actually showing up on my eyes. This palette must be a little bit better than the other ones because the other two palettes suck so bad. So I'm also mixing it in a little bit with this other matte fuchsia shade down here at the bottom. They're very similar, like they don't look much different, but it's actually making it a little bit more vivid by doing that. You know what I've learned? I've learned that I've just completely lost my patience for blending anymore. I just don't feel like doing it. Just to deepen it up a little bit, I'm gonna go into the Utopia palette from Kokie. I'm gonna take this dark matte eggplant. It's showing up a little bit, but it's very sheer and it's not really doing a whole lot. Okay, wait a minute. Oh no. Here's my issue. If you watch my Too Faced Just Peachy review or whatever where I use the Just Peachy palette, that was a crap show because for some reason, like purpley tones, like anything that's got like a purple or red pigment in it, they oxidize on me and they start creasing and fading, and this one's already starting to do it. Like you can start seeing lines in my eyes. It's really weird. I'm just gonna leave the purple alone. I'm gonna go back into the fuchsia shades, which actually it's happening where I applied the pinky shade, not the purple. But that's just like a personal chemistry issue. The Peachy palette isn't too bad. I still don't like the Utopia palette or the other one, the Treasured palette. But moving on to eyeliner. So Flower Beauty sent over these Vinyl Eyes Glossy Gel Eyeliners, and these are all kind of shimmery. I'm typically not a shimmery eyeliner person, especially for the top lash line. I'm okay with it for the bottom, like the waterline, because I feel like it really makes your eyes sparkle and pop. And especially if you get a color that's kind of more complementary and like it kind of coordinates with your eye color, I think it looks so pretty. These are okay. I haven't really tested these out a whole lot. They are very creamy, I will say that. So I'm gonna go through each color. So the first one I have is in the shade Purple Quartz, and this one is more of just a dark eggplant plum. The next shade I have is in the shade Serpent. This is just like a forest olivey green. So that's right above that. And as you can see, again, a lot of shimmer. This is actually a really, really pretty one. If you have green eyes, oh, this is so, so pretty. The next one I have is in the shade Bronzed Out. And this is one that would be really pretty on all eye colors because it's just your basic bronze with a golden sheen to it, like golden shimmer. And then the last one I have is in the shade Galaxy, and this is just a black. So this one has silver sparkle in it. So there's Galaxy, there's Bronzed Out, Serpent, and Purple Quartz. They're not the most long wearing on me. Now I will say I do have very sensitive eyes and my eyes do water a little bit, and I just can't keep anything in the waterline, and most things do irritate my contacts, so I just can't typically wear an eyeliner in the waterline. These do not irritate my eyes, so that's a good thing, but they are very, very creamy, and I feel like they don't completely set. But for the sake of doing it today, I am gonna do the Galaxy shade, the black eyeliner on the top. Now the shimmer in this is not very subtle. It's pretty noticeable. Now moving on to some mascara. So I did go ahead and put on one of the lip products I'm gonna talk about today because I kind of forgot how it wore, and what it did because I haven't put them on in a while. So I'm just kind of remind myself, excuse how horrible it looks right now. It looks like puke mouth. So yeah, moving on to some mascara. I have the new Revlon Volume-𝐻𝐼𝐼𝐰 Mascara. It kind of has a wand, almost like the Too Faced Better Than Sex Mascara, but it's not as hourglass shaped. It's kind of more like straight up and down, but it's very fluffy. So I've already curled my lashes. I'm gonna go ahead and apply a couple of layers of this. So I really do like the wand of this. However, the formula just doesn't do everything I want it to do. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a pretty good mascara. It's definitely not horrible, and it does get me, you know, pretty big lashes for the most part. But I have very high standards for mascara, so I look for a lot of volume, a lot of length. So this one does a lot of length and separation and fullness, but it doesn't really do a whole lot of volume. And volume is pretty important to me. So, like, it doesn't make my lashes look very fluffy and very full, but it just doesn't give enough volume at the root. This is a very good layering mascara. You can layer this, like, just layer upon layer, and it never really looks super clumpy or anything, and it never gets to a point to where you can't really stop layering it. This isn't a bad mascara. I'm not hating on it. It's just not my personal favorite. So going back to the eyeliners real quick, I do want to kind of like swatch over these just to see how they smear and stuff. So they have been sitting here for quite a while, so I'm just gonna rub over them. As you can see, a lot of transfer. They are faded quite a bit. So yeah, I don't feel like these are a total fail. It's just not my cup of tea, but I definitely do feel like there are better formulas out there. So I would say these are a pass for me. So moving on to some brows, I have the Flower Beauty Brow Vixen Tattoo Effect Stain. I have the shade Taupe and the shade Blonde. These are like the trending product right now, a brow marker. So it just looks like an eyeliner pen. It does have an angle to it, but I don't like these. The blonde shade is very, very warm. So I'm gonna swatch these for you guys. There's the blonde shade. That is like straight up auburn. I don't know what they were thinking with that. The taupe shade isn't bad, but it still has a lot of warmth to it. And I feel like most people like their brows to be a little more cool toned. I feel like naturally our brows are more cool toned. But my biggest thing is the formula. These dry out so quickly as you're applying them. And the sucky part about that is, you know, typically with like an eyeliner or something, you can just kind of shake it downwards. It doesn't rehydrate itself. It's like the only way you can rehydrate it and kind of put more of the formula into the felt tip part is if you put the cap on and then shake it. I'm gonna use the taupe shade for the majority of my brow because the blonde shade is just way too off. Okay, and I also don't like the fact it doesn't come with a spoolie. Like, what do you do at the end of it? Just put a simple little spoolie on there. These are a total pass for me. So I have the new Maybelline Master Blur Stick Pore Minimizing Primer. So this is just a pore blurring stick, as it says. I have oily skin, and I do have very large pores in here. You guys probably can't see them. You might be able to. They're the size of the moon's craters. Actually, I need to go ahead and apply another primer because I use this as like a spot primer. I don't apply this all over, so but if you have oily skin and large pores, this is definitely something that you want to check out because it really does blur your pores. It fills them in. Not a whole lot, and I will say you definitely see it more without foundation on. There are some pore minimizing products that when you apply foundation, it actually feels it, like it looks more filled in than when you're just applying it solo. But this is one of those that you see it a little bit more with nothing else on. So I'm going to go in the places that I have fine lines to. I typically get settling. That's a really cool thing about these types of products. You can put them in places where you get fine line settling too. I still see my pores. Don't get me wrong, they're not completely gone, but it definitely does help, and this does mattify a little bit as well. But for foundation, I have the Rude Cosmetics Double Trouble Foundation and Concealer. I believe this is like $9, and I will have everything linked below. This is in the shade Ivory. This does not match me whatsoever, but this is a very, very thick foundation. And I have tried it as a foundation and concealer because honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of it for foundation. It's a little bit too thick for me, and the coverage is okay. If you have a lot to cover up, you're gonna be using everything in this bottle. Where I don't really like this as a foundation, I did apply it as a concealer one day, and I got horrible creasing. It did not last. It faded. It just didn't hold up under the eyes whatsoever. Also, let me show you the brow stain from Flower. I did just wash my hands and have it under water and stuff, and as you can see, it's pretty long wearing. It did fade a little bit, but even with a baby wipe, like, I'm putting a lot of strength into that. So here's what the foundation looks like, and this is a very peachy undertone foundation. It just doesn't work for me at all, but it's very thick. It's almost like a mousse. I haven't really enjoyed this foundation. Oh, it's so peach. I haven't really enjoyed this foundation, but when I did the other video, the first attempt, as we call it, it actually didn't look too bad. Like, with the full face, it doesn't look bad at all. I'm gonna go ahead and use my damp sponge on this side, and I'm gonna use a brush on the other side. And I do remember that it does apply better with a brush, surprisingly, because most thick foundations actually apply better with a sponge because it shears them out a little bit, makes them more blendable. But a sponge is just, it doesn't want to work very well with the sponge. So yeah, you would think with this being a super thick foundation, it would be really full coverage, but it's really not. I would say this is like a low medium coverage right now. Hopefully you guys can see. I can definitely see in person that there's some redness right here. It's not covering up my nose very well. I still see some unevenness right here. And a little bit does not go a long way at all. I'm gonna move on to this side. I'm gonna use my Sigma F80 brush. And I've actually been enjoying spraying my brush with setting spray. I don't know why, it just makes it apply so much better. So as you can see, it is blending out a lot better with the brush for some reason. It just seems to spread better, and it doesn't pick up the product and like drag it around like a sponge does. But I will say I cannot get it to sit well on my nose for some reason, and it is kind of like setting into my pores a little bit weird. It's doing it more so on the brush side, but it actually does hold up pretty well on my skin, and the longer I wear it, it does look better. But I just feel like if I don't like the application process, it's a no-go for me, because I'm someone that does like to apply foundation. So if it doesn't make it easy for me, it's a pass for me. So moving on to a liquid highlighter. So this is the Flower Beauty Glow Getter Liquid Illuminator, and this is in the shade Champagne Shimmer 05. I don't really know why they're calling this champagne, because it's actually pretty dang pink. It's actually very pretty. It blends out really fast. It just kind of melts into your skin. It gives you a really nice subtle glow. Okay, I'm back with some setting powder, and I will say this foundation is one of those that if you don't set every single area of your face, it will feel so tacky. Let's just go ahead and finish up these eyes, because I'm tired of it. So I'm gonna go into the Purple Quartz eyeliner from Flower Beauty, and I'm gonna pop that right in my waterline. And also the highlighter stays very tacky when you don't mess with it. Like I'm gonna need to put a powder highlight over top of this, because it feels very tacky and transferable. So yeah, my skin just looks very heavy. Like it looks like I'm wearing like 100 layers of foundation. I'm gonna go back into the Peachy Queen palette. I'm gonna first go into one of those fuchsia shades that I used on the top eyelid, and just smudge this really close to the lash root. Okay, that's applying really nicely. And also I do want to point out that even though I'm not messing with my eyeliner in the waterline, it's losing pigmentation and intensity already. It's gone. So I'm just gonna go in with that brush that I used for the coral shade, and we are gonna smudge this out pretty low. We are looking hella fly. And then I'm gonna go into the Wanderlust palette, that one with the crazy shades. I'm gonna take this color right here, that really shimmery, glittery white gold. It's super pigmented. And I'm just gonna wet my brush and put that in the inner corner. But I have another mascara I want to show you guys for the bottom lashes. This is the L'Oreal Voluminous Mascara in the shade Deep Burgundy. So it's kind of like a cranberry plum. So I'm just going to put that on the lower lashes. And I don't really like this for the lower lashes, because I feel like the formula's a bit too wet and the wand's a bit too big. But it really doesn't add a lot of color. Like it kind of looks just black. It just adds a hint of color. So moving on to some cheek products. I do have a couple to show you guys. So first is the Rude Cosmetics Fearless Face Palette. It's just kind of like peachy, corally toned. It is more of a warm palette. I do like this palette. I feel like the formula is very nice on it. It's very high quality. But I also feel like the shades are very similar in here. Like the two highlighters, the two blushes, and the two bronzers, like each one looks very similar. So I feel like there needs to be more variety in here, because on the skin, there's not much difference in them. And these also pop out, and they pop out really easily. So if you travel with this, you'll probably have an issue. But I don't know if that means that they sell individuals of these. Like if they sell individual like other colors and stuff. Okay, if they do, I would like to try more of these, because this is a very nice formula. So there's a few of those. And there are, like, the bronzers and the blushes are both, they're matte, but you have two different shimmery highlighters. And I have another bronzer I'm going to use on the other side of my face. So this is the Rude Amiga Ombre Blush in the shade Lapita. So this is just like a gradient kind of bronzer. Let's apply the ombre blush on this side of my face. So this bronzer is very sheer. It's very, very buildable, and it's really not my favorite, to be honest. It's not bad, like it's not a bad formula or anything. It's just a little bit too dry for me, but it can get pretty orange if you build it up too much. But as you can see, it just gives a very soft bronzy effect. It does add dimension and stuff, but this is just a pass for me, just because I have to, I don't know, it's just way too sheer for me. I like a little bit more pigmentation than that. I'm gonna go into the Fearless Face Palette. I don't know if this is like a shade name or something, but I'm gonna go into this one right, actually, let's go with this one right here. This one kind of reminds me of the Too Faced, what's it called? Too Faced Sweet Peaches bronzer or something like that. I'll put it over here. I really do like this formula. It's a lot more pigmented than the other one, but it's not too pigmented to where you have to be scared of it. I'm just gonna go ahead and go in with this other bronzer in here just to deepen up a little bit. It's just like a tad bit darker. But these are very soft. They are very easy to work with. Let's apply a different blush to each side just to show you guys what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna go in with this blush right here. This is more of a light peachy coral on this side. But as you can see, it just adds a really nice, like, pretty peachy flush. So I'm gonna go in with this other one over here. This one has a little bit more of a deep peach tone to it, but this one's a lot more pigmented right off the bat. It's a a lot less sheer. As far as the tones go, they really don't look that much different on the skin. So moving on to highlighter. So there are a couple of shades in here I'm gonna try on one side, and then on the other side I'm gonna use this one. This is the Rude Baked Highlighter in the shade All Eyes on Me. This one is very glittery, very sparkly. So if you have a lot of texture or acne, whatever, you won't want to use this because it will enhance that. But I will say if you apply it wet, it looks a lot better. As far as the highlighters in this palette, these are kind of the same way as the blushes, where one's a bit more pigmented and more dusty and powdery than the other, but really they're about the same tone. So there's what they look like. One's a little bit more intense and the other one's a little more of just a natural sheen, so it's more subtle. So I'm gonna use the Kokie Set and Forget Long Lasting Makeup Setting Spray. So I'm gonna let this dry just for a second and just kind of let it get to where it's more tacky. And I'm gonna go in with the baked highlighter on the right side. And I should have showed you what it looked like dry. I'm gonna go ahead and apply it to this side, and this can look very intense. As you can see, it's very wet looking when you apply it wet. Okay, so you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and apply the baked highlighter dry on this side just to show you guys what I'm talking about, because it has already dried. Now, I will say my skin does look a lot better and a lot less cakey and thick looking after the setting spray, so it definitely did help that, because it was not looking very good at all. But this is very, very pretty. Like, even when you apply it dry, like, it's not super sparkly until you start building it up more. So yeah, I do like this highlighter. I actually really do like it. It's just one of those highlighters that you just have to be very mindful of it. Like, you just have to kind of keep in mind like what kind of look you want to go for. So moving on to the last thing, which is a few lip products. So Flower Beauty sent me a bunch of liquid lipsticks and also glosses. So there are the Galaxy Glaze holographic lip glosses. So these are more of just like a glittery, super shimmery gloss. And then they have the Miracle Matte Metallic Liquid Lipstick. So that's actually what I was using earlier. That's what you saw earlier. I was wearing the shade Petal Punk. I just don't like metallic lips. I feel like it's very outdated. That's just my opinion. That's how it looks. I'm talking about how it looks on me. So all these shades are pretty different. Like, none of them I would really think would go with this look. So I may apply one of like the glosses or something on top of another thing, because I do have these NYX Slip Tease lip lacquers, and these are amazing. These are brand new. I found these at Ulta. They're like $8.99 or something like that. I have the shades Let's Get Physical, which is, you know, a nude. And I also have the shade Rosy Outlook, which is more of a deeper rose shade. But this is the most comfortable lipstick I think I've tried in a while, and I do really like the wand on it. It's kind of got like an hourglass shape to it, but it's more rounded, and it just hugs the lips really nicely and applies a good amount. And I will say you do have to wipe off a lot of the excess because it does apply a whole lot, and these are very, very pigmented. Like, this is not a sheer formula whatsoever. It reminds me a lot of the Intense Butter glosses. They do have more of like a minty feel to them. Like, they do feel a bit more cooling. If you guys have ever tried the Balm's liquid lipsticks, they feel just like that. So here's Rosy Outlook and here's Let's Get Physical. Very, very beautiful. These are high shine, super glossy, but they're so long wearing and so comfortable and hydrating on the lips. I'm gonna apply Rosy Outlook because it kind of looks like what I got going on in my eyelid. Now, I will say the one thing I don't like about them is that they do bleed. Even with lip liner, I find that if I get too close to the outer edge, like the lip line, they will bleed pretty bad, and they can get on your teeth and they can get all over your face if your hair is flying all over your mouth and stuff. So I'm trying to figure out which one I can use. I was kind of wanting to put the metallic liquid lip from Flower in the shade Petal Punk back on like the middle of my lips or something, but I'm just not feeling it. This is so glossy, I really don't need anything else, but let's use the Galaxy Glaze holographic lip gloss in the shade Soleil. So this is just like a champagne golden shade with a lot of glitter. These just aren't my cup of tea. The formula is nice on them. They are pretty long wearing. I really do like the applicator on this. It's just a flat, like flexible doe foot applicator. But as far as being holographic, I feel like that's kind of a stretch. I feel like really all it does is just add more of a glossy look and like add more shine and like glitter. So there's that one I just now used. It's not really holographic, it's just duochromish. And I do want to swatch a couple of the metallic ones. This is the shade that I wore earlier, Petal Pink. These are very smooth. They are very long wearing and they're not super drying or anything. So if you do like a metallic lip, this would be a good place to start if you like the shades. The next shade I have is called Crimson Venom, which is like an orangey blue undertoned shade. Well, it kind of looks red there. It looks more orangey in the tube. And then they have this grayish brown in the shade Cocoa Rebel. So yeah, that one's very chunky. Like, that one's almost like glittery and not metallic. I don't like that one at all. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and got some ideas for what you want to put on your shopping list or what you don't want to put on your shopping list, like what do you need to avoid. So thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel. I have a little button right down here in the corner, and also hit the notification bell. And when you do, comment below #PartyPeople to let me know you're part of my Party People squad. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Mwah.